All right. Today I got on the air. Edinboro men's and women's tennis coach Kody Duncan. How you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm hanging in there just like the rest of us, man. These crazy quarantine times, right?
Yeah, it's something none of us have ever experienced before, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, definitely. How have you been spending your time? In the last month and a half since the season has ended.
Well, obviously our university is closed, but coaches can still work remotely. So I'm just trying to treat it as like, everything's normal and I'm working every single day, doing the same things that I would typically do in the summer. But I'm just trying to, you know, do everything that I possibly can to prepare for, the fall season.
Definitely, we're kind of the same on our end. Just trying to recruit and do some administrative stuff and hoping for the best for the fall. I saw on Instagram you guys signed a few kids this past week.
Yeah, that was just some exciting news, some positive news. We got 3 or 4 girls coming in next year, which I'm very excited for. Uh, you know, I'm trying to gradually, get my women's team up to be, something special. And I think, this recruiting class coming in will definitely help. On the men's side, we've been typically pretty good, but we got a few good players coming in as well. So definitely excited.
Don't be modest, coach. I think your men's team has been more than just kind of good lately.
Well, unfortunately, this year we didn't get to, see what we could have done, but just from the short season we had, it was definitely something special.
Definitely, from firsthand experience playing against that squad, I think you guys probably stacked up pretty well with the top couple of teams in the region, and probably, I think, in my opinion at least, would have had a good chance to make it out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll never know, but
Right.
I have a lot of all those guys are young. They're freshmen and sophomores, so I'll have that team again next year. So we'll see, and then obviously the added freshmen that we're bringing in. Um, you know, but every year is different, and you know that, and
Yeah.
things can change. So we'll see. But like I said, definitely excited for next year, and hopefully we play you guys again next year and see. We'll get to see you guys again.
Hopefully, you let us back on the schedule.
Of course.
Changing gears just a little bit. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of how you got into the college tennis landscape, and then how you became a coach after your playing career.
Yeah, this will be a little bit of a long story, but
We got time, man.
we got time. We got
All we
time.
got is time.
So, yeah, it's kind of a unique situation. Obviously, I actually went to Edinboro myself. I was a player here from 2011 to 2015. But it was kind of crazy because I always have this memory, and when I was or till this day, where I was a senior in high school, and I was, we'd have laptops in each class. So like whenever we'd have free time, I would roam around on Indeed and see like, oh, there's a head coaching job, somewhere. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. It's like, cause I already loved tennis anyway. So it's like, I didn't know that this was actually like full-time jobs and anything, for anything to that nature. So I was like, well, this is what I want to do when I'm done with college. I want to
Right.
be a coach. So I looked up what the best degree was to get a coaching job, and it was health and physical education from what I was researching. So I went into health and physical education at Edinboro. But my intentions the whole time was to be a tennis coach. I didn't really want to teach, um, at a school. But it was a good backup plan to have anyway. So I wanted to follow that path. But you know how life changes, especially in college. Your mind changes all the time. So that plan actually went away. I actually did not want to coach towards the end because I think I was getting burnt out a little bit with tennis.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, I wouldn't say I got burnt out, but I would just say I had a different career path. So what I wanted to do was I actually wanted to go into physical therapy or athletic training. And that's why I switched my major to exercise science. And I actually graduated with an exercise science degree. And I wanted, like I said, wanted to go to that career path of physical therapy or athletic training. But so I graduated, I moved down to Florida, and I actually got into Gannon University for the athletic training program, master's program. But so I was, like I said, I was in Florida, but I had to go to Gannon. So I had to drive all the way back. And it was, ironically enough, I was in West Virginia, and I stopped, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I still want to coach. I was like, I love tennis. I want to coach. I want to stay, I want to stay in that career path because it just, is something that I always wanted to do. And, I wanted to maintain that passion of mine. So what I did was I actually applied to because I just wanted to get into the athletic or, college athletics, no matter what I could do. I wanted to get in a job there and get my foot in the door. So I actually got a job at Moravian College as athletic equipment manager, and that's near Philly. Actually Bethlehem, PA, which is on the east side of Pennsylvania. I was working there for a year, and actually, when I got the job, I asked if I could, try to be the assistant coach there, like volunteer assistant tennis coach there, as I was doing the equipment managing. And they actually said that I could, but my workload actually, is just too much. But I would see the tennis team practice all the time, and I would be in their office, and I always worked with the coaches with that job. And I just, as much as I love that job, I wanted to stick with coaching, and I wanted to, even though I got my foot in the door, I was in college athletics. I thought, okay, maybe I can still get a, coaching job somewhere. Well, the year ended. I think it was around like May 2017 or something like that. And I was looking up some coaching jobs, and Allegheny College opened up. Their assistant coaching job opened up, and it was a full-time job, and it was about 15 minutes away from Edinboro, 45 minutes away from where I grew up. So I was like, thought it was a perfect opportunity for me, and I got that job, and I moved back to that it was in Meadville, and 2 months down the road, my former coach, Lee Underwood, he took a job in North Carolina as for a different coaching job, and recommended me for the position at Edinboro. And as an alumni at Edinboro, I think everybody wants to coach their former the school that they went to. So I thought it was something I couldn't pass up. So obviously I applied for it as an emergency hire, and I got the job, and 3 years down the road, here I am.
It's funny that you mentioned some of those things because weirdly enough, I kind of have some of the same similarities in my short career. I actually have a degree in architecture, and I never changed my major once. I graduated in 4 years with honors, wanted to be an architect, moved to Houston, went to University of Houston for 1 semester and lived there for, I think I had an internship for the summer and then went there for the fall, and ended up it just wasn't for me. So I came back here and ended up getting the assistant job at my alma mater, like you mentioned, at Fairmont. And I think leading into that and some of the same pains I had is, how did you feel as a young coach, taking over at a place where I believe you probably still had some teammates that were left that were still on that roster when you took the job, right?
Right. Yeah. So obviously everything was new to me. So,
Yeah.
with having, former players that were my teammates, as, now I'm their coach, it was obviously a little different, but at the same time, it's like I never was a head coach anyway. So everything, like I said, was new. So I brought them in, and, I just told them, like, things got to be a little bit different. Obviously you got to, give me the respect, and they were fine with it. And everything was, that was actually a very fun year. I think we actually played you guys in the regionals.
Yeah, that was your first year coaching. Yep.
Yeah.
2017, 2018? No,
Yeah.
20,
Yeah. It was,
2016, 2017. right?
17, 18 year, I
Okay.
believe. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, whenever I came back as an assistant, obviously the whole Fairmont State team, besides one guy, was a former teammate of mine. So I thought it was an interesting transition going from being more friends and being able to do extracurricular activities together off the court and things like that versus changing roles. But I kind of felt the same way. The guys, the respect was there. It just was a little bit different in changing roles. And I'm sure
Yeah, I
you felt
mean,
a little bit of the same.
yeah, it's never going to be, it's not going to be
Seamless.
something like where you're recruiting, you recruited a kid and he's a freshman or she's a freshman coming in and they see you differently. It's never going to be like that, but there's still going to be, you know, respect given because you're in a different role. So,
Right. And I think one thing that probably helped you the same is the kids, they still respected you as a player and they knew you were a good player. So, I mean, it's not like some random guy who had no tennis knowledge or someone that they didn't trust tennis knowledge was telling them things to do. So, I guess in that regard, it's a little bit different.
right, yeah, exactly. And I, one of those players is now my assistant coach. He's been my assistant coach for 2 years. So that's the level of respect that I have for him and he has for me. So,
Well, he terrorized the Atlantic region for 4 years and now he's still continuing to do so as an assistant.
yeah, he's good at everything he does. And that's not even an understatement. So,
Hey, I didn't get to see his golf game at Hilton Head, so that is still to be determined.
well, I said everything he does, he doesn't do that.
Speaking of Vitor, I know he's graduating, I think, in December, right?
Yeah, he is.
So, what are kind of his plans moving forward? Does he want to get into this game as a head coach, or
I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I would love for him to, stay in coaching because I think he has an knack for it. He knows a lot about the game. He's good with the players. He's very responsible. I mean, obviously, he's getting his master's degree and he's doing great at it. So, whatever he wants, I support him no matter what. So, yeah, if he wants to get into the business world, I fully, you know, uh, want him to do whatever he wants.
yeah,
So.
definitely. And I'm actually graduating in December too. So maybe, hopefully, the school and Coach Hoffman keep me around a little longer. We'll see. I know I've seen you post about where Vitor is graduating in December, and you're looking for a grad assistant. So, from your
Right.
end, what's really something you look for? Like, you get a bunch of applications and kids sending you information. What's going to stand out to you, and what do you really look for in the role of a graduate assistant tennis coach at Edinboro?
Biggest thing is like leadership. I would love to see, because most players you get for a GA position, they're coming out or right out of college
Yeah.
as a player. So leadership roles, responsibility. You always want to do some background on players and make sure that okay they were a great teammate, responsible, on and off the court, and that's basically it.
Right. I know
Well,
I
I mean,
get
they
keep
they
going.
do gotta have, certain talent and,
Yeah.
but that's not the, most important thing.
Yeah, I have players that I know from other schools that are seniors in college or upcoming seniors, and they always ask me, "How can I get a GA position?" Or what do coaches look for? And to me, I think sometimes players confuse it a little bit with how good of a player they are, which
Yeah,
definitely, by all means, don't get me wrong, you got a little lucky getting Vitor as your grad assistant in that regard.
no
I'm
que
definitely not the type of player he is, but I think more so kids kind of don't understand the other roles, and because I mean I get to hit in practice, and coach has me play in practice some, but it's definitely not every practice, and it's definitely not the whole practice. And that's
right.
only a small percentage of what really I'm used for as a grad assistant at Salem.
Yeah, I mean, GAs have a lot on their plate. I mean, you're still going to school, but you're essentially a full-time coach,
Yeah,
You're
the
doing
hours you put
everything
in.
that a full-time assistant coach would be doing essentially.
Yeah,
Uh, and then on top of that, you're getting a degree, your master's degree. So there's a lot that comes with it. But that's the thing. Like, if you want to go into this profession and you get a GA, you're a GA position. You were in a GA position, then you're going to go into hopefully like a head coaching position. It's really big on your resume because it's like it shows that you can take a workload.
Yeah, for me, it's been incredibly rewarding experience. I know, like you said, the workload is crazy. You're still a full-time student. You're getting a master's, which in itself is already difficult. You're basically coaching full-time hours. And then obviously there's other minor things that the school has us do as well as GA. So we're really
Right.
all over the place, but the experience has been really amazing. And especially, being able to work under Coach Hoffman, who was my coach in college. I've learned more in the past year about college tennis than I ever could have imagined in my 4 years as a player. And you learn a lot of the ins and outs, which I mean, you weren't a GA before. So I think
Right.
had you been a GA, you might have jumping into your coaching position been more prepared than you were
Oh,
jumping in
no
as a rookie.
question. I had to learn. I had to learn as
The hard
I.
way.
So yeah, but 3 years into it, I think I know a lot now. But yeah, if I could go the route of a GA position, I definitely would. So.
And shifting gears a little bit, this is actually a question that Kyle had for you. What do you feel like are some of the craziest things about college tennis, just for you, both as a coach and as just from spectating? I know we see a lot of interesting posts on the college recruiting board sometimes, and we kind of stay in the inner loop of what I would say kind of drama. So, what do you
Mhm.
think has kind of been some of the wildest things you've seen, firsthand and maybe also secondhand?
You mean just as like during a match or anything like that?
Definitely, we could go into the matches because I've seen some crazy stuff already as a player and as a coach. I mean, from that end too, I just think people that are outside the college coaching world, one of the things that I always get questioned about is the international presence in college tennis. For
Yeah.
people who aren't tennis people normally, or even the tennis community in say Morgantown, for me it's always like your whole roster is mostly international. For us at Salem, it's all international currently,
Right.
and people don't understand why that is. And it's hard to explain sometimes that most Americans, there's only a small pool of Americans who are talented enough to actually want to play D2. And then
Yeah.
the sad fact of the matter is that most won't choose D2 at all.
Well, yeah, I guess if you want to talk about the craziest things I've like experiences, it does come with recruiting
Yeah.
because like I went into it thinking, how did these coaches find all these international
I
players?
always thought that as a player. I'm like, how does Wesleyan have 20 guys that are all international? Like, because when I came to Fairmont, we had no international players. So we were always just like in the van, like, where do these guys come from?
Yeah, that was definitely it's definitely something that you learn as you go too about how you go about recruiting players and you know you kind of have to recruit internationals on this level if you want to be competitive because most American players that are at the level of my men or women, um, specifically my men, they're either going mid-level D1 or very high academic D3, which I have no problem with that, but
Right.
it's just hard for us to recruit players of that level of ability.
Right. And I think, for us, it's difficult to really, it's almost like a stigma of high level Americans don't choose D2. I think in our case, and a lot of coaches that I've talked with, is when you talk about, the higher level Americans going mid major, a lot of them have D2 offers that are better or even on teams that are better.
Yeah,
So,
no.
how do coaches flip guys like that? And whenever they really just don't even give you a look and maybe you're giving them a better budget and a better situation, maybe even better facilities.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a stigma of going D1, and it's hard
Exactly.
to change a prospective student athlete's mindset on that. Because when I was growing up, one of my best friends, he got a full ride to play for Notre Dame football. So and now he's in the NFL now, but like we saw that and we were like, oh, he's going D1. Anybody that else that played a different sport or the same sport, and that were getting offers, they wanted the same feeling of, oh, I'm, gonna go play D1. But sometimes it's just not the right situation. So
Right. I mean, I know for me personally, I didn't have any D1 offers. So, it wasn't a choice for me. But, for kids that do have a choice, it's just like the D1 or bust mentality is so strong in America right now. It's really, And I don't think the situation is going to get any different as far as American presence in D2 anytime soon, unless things change.
No, I don't think so either. But I'm still going to recruit American players.
Definitely.
And it would be amazing to get some more players domestically. But time will tell.
Another question Kyle had added into my presentation here. He asked me, is there any countries that you've had more success recruiting in, or countries that you haven't had much success recruiting from, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my roster, a lot of my players are from Brazil.
Mhm.
But that's maybe not because, or the reason why I'm probably more successful is just relationships with certain agencies and all that kind of stuff. It's all about relationships. Um, you know, you don't want to burn any bridges. You don't want to, get on anybody's bad side, and you want to be respectful. And even if things don't work out with one player, that shouldn't ruin things. With future players in the in the later years. So yeah, I mean, I would say Brazil is my hot spot for players, but I recruit everywhere, so it's not. I have players from Taiwan. I have players from all of Europe. So there's no really specific, but if I had to choose one country that would probably be my most successful, just from numbers, would probably be Brazil.
Yeah, and as you know from my days at Fairmont, obviously two of our probably most successful players ever were both from Brazil, Lucas and Guy. So I guess
Mhm.
kind of the same for us. I know at Salem, same boat. We had players from almost literally every continent this past year and from all over. So for us, I guess like you said relationships, were the big thing, and it's more so honestly about getting a recruiter to trust you. And if you can get a kid from a recruiter and they have good things to say, then generally that kind of snowballs or almost compounds.
Yeah, it's all about feedback with the players as
Yeah.
well, because if you have a lot of players that are trying to go in the transfer portal, and they don't want to be there, well, that news goes back to the agency, and it's just not a good look. So hopefully none of that, hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody, but unfortunately it does. So you just got to try to represent your school as best as you can.
Right. And in the same boat, as I said, you get one player who comes back with good information and can, compound. You get one player with bad information and bad feedback, then it almost kind of kills your ties with a certain recruiter. And sometimes, it's not even your fault, or it's the
Yeah.
player. So it's kind
Yep.
of unfortunate and unfair to the coaches in that regard.
Yeah, it's one part of the job that we
Yeah.
we have to deal with. So
So, kind of tying back to the college recruiting board, I've seen a lot of coaches in the comments talking about, full rides aren't going to be available for women next year. Guys need to have higher budgets and things like that. How do you think that this whole situation is going to affect, the budgets of incoming players for not just next year, but for the foreseeable future?
that's an interesting question, because right now I've never had to deal with full rides or anything like that. So I'm not one of those schools that have a ton of money to be given out to certain players. And if I did, I would basically um, that all my money would be going to one person or one player, and that just wouldn't be beneficial to me. So I really don't have to worry about that kind of situation, or that situation. But for other schools, it very well could happen. I'm not entirely sure anybody's situation financially with other schools, but just from what's going on and seeing programs being cut already, it's not a good look for our sport, at least on the financial side. So hopefully things get better. But like I said, again, time will tell. But I hope, I hope the best for our sport, and all Olympic sports, to be honest with you, because it's not just tennis that is being cut. I saw the University of Cincinnati's their men's soccer team got cut, and that's disheartening, because first off, I love soccer. I'm not just a tennis guy. I love soccer. I love golf. Those are my three favorite sports, actually. So, it just hurts to see that happen, because that's, opportunities for, young adults that are being taken away. And it's not good.
Interesting that you talk about the recent cuts. It's actually something I had kind of that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Um, in the recent weeks, we've seen programs, not just tennis, but specifically tennis, cut at the Division I level, at the Division II level, and others as well. I know you got University of Missouri, Kansas City, a successful Division I program in their own right. I think they had won 5 out of the last 10 conference titles. St. Edward's, a perennial top 25 D2 program. I know Sonoma just got cut, Staten Island. Do you look for this to kind of continue to be a trend over the summer, especially if the COVID continues to keep us in quarantine and keep students from being on campus?
Yeah, I don't want to talk for other universities, but if I had an opinion, unfortunately, it just looks like that might be the case. I don't want it to be the case, but
Absolutely.
it's especially if there's no football season. That's going to affect a lot of schools. Because at least on the higher end Division I schools, if they don't have a football season, that trickles down and affects all the smaller sports. So it could definitely play an effect. And we could continue to see throughout the summer, programs getting cut. And I hate to see it, but and like I said, it might not just be tennis, it might be other sports as well. So, like you said, we were just talking off air about Sonoma State. Uh, I believe their women's water polo team got cut as well. So, as well as the men's and women's tennis teams. So it's not just tennis that's being cut, which, you know, uh, like I said, like we said, it could be a trend, in the summer. So hopefully
It,
not, but
It's
it's
just
looking like.
unfortunate for the coaches and players, I guess, to keep seeing this news, as we're already in a time where most people aren't feeling the most positive about the situation. All of us had our season cut and taken away from us. So, to keep seeing programs cut and, seeing these videos. I know a student athlete from St. Edward's posted a really good video, to his university. And I thought that was really nice. And you could tell that, he was hurting, and that, I'm sure the rest of the team felt the same way. So, it's definitely not the most encouraging thing to see in times like this, but I think it's definitely important for us as coaches to keep each other positive and keep our players positive too, because at the end of the day, our players are feeling this a lot, and they're already probably going through a lot of emotions anyways. So, going into that, how have you been able to keep in touch with your players, over this little break, and, how are they spending their time and how are they doing?
So I have two different group chats. So obviously one with my women's and one with my men's team, and we talk almost every week via text or academic meetings. I haven't had any Zoom meetings with the whole team, but I've had individual meetings with them, and it's mostly just seeing how they're doing, not only just in school, but where they're at. Uh, you know, with their, not being here and everything like that. So, yeah, I, try to stay in touch with them as best as I can and as much as I can, and try to stay positive with them. And, I also do that with social media too, with, their Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Keep them, positive, keep everything positive. That's the main goal for now.
How have you yourself been keeping busy?
Okay, so obviously as a tennis coach, you know, you live for competition, right? So, not having anything, to be competitive with, it drives me crazy. But I actually have tried to stay a little bit competitive. I've been playing a little bit of video games.
Okay, what are you playing?
So I'm playing MLB The Show.
Okay.
So baseball game, play online, a little bit here and there. That keeps me keeps a little bit of fire going.
I expected to hear FIFA from you.
I had played FIFA, but I just bought the MLB game. So now, once you buy a game, you get addicted to it. So I was playing FIFA before that, though.
Are golf courses in Pennsylvania open or no?
No, they're not. And for a golfer like me, that's the worst thing. That's the worst news to hear.
Well, they're actually open in West Virginia. I think over the last month and a half, I've actually probably golfed like 6 times, which is more than I've ever golfed in my entire life. Because, like you said, the competition, the competitiveness, it's the only thing I
Yeah,
really have to do.
yeah. So our in Pennsylvania, our restrictions might get or well, it's till May 8th, I believe,
Hmm.
is when the shutdown is till. So hopefully, in a couple weeks that they'll open up the golf courses. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah, hopefully, if this lasts any longer, I'll be able to shave a few strokes off for when we come back. Because last
There
couple
you
outings have been pretty rough. You saw that in Hilton Head.
go. Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't just you. Don't worry.
Dan,
Well, it was me. It was Kyle. It was everybody. So
nothing like that Barry Bonds golf drive though, from the trainer.
hey, his swing acceleration was better than all of ours. That's for sure.
Oh, for
It just
sure.
only went for 5 feet, but
One last question before I get you off here, Coach. What is this the one thing you're really looking forward to about getting back to college tennis?
oh man, it's to see my players. I as a coach, you see you see your team more than your family. Because in tennis, you coach in the fall and you coach in the spring. It's a little bit different. We have 2 seasons, so I constantly see them, and having them leave short, in March, it was it was hard because I see them every single day. I see them Monday through Saturday, and even sometimes on Sunday, even though if it's not practice. So not having them, it's been hard. So getting them all back into the fall and getting the season going, that's what I'm looking forward to, seeing everybody back on the court. It's just I'm excited for that.
Well, hopefully this coming fall we'll all be reunited with our teams and we'll be back to the grind that we're used to. Until then, I guess we just got question marks. But appreciate you coming on today, Kody.
Yeah, thanks
Had
for
really
having
fun.
me. Yep. Take care.
Yep. See you, man.
See ya.